Bumblebees are pretty smart. In the wild, these social insects can make foraging decisions on the fly to maximise their energy rewards. Meanwhile, in experiments, they've been shown to be capable of learning complex behaviours from other bees. But now, bumblebees have shown an ability never seen before in invertebrates, learning to open a two-step puzzle box too complicated to crack through trial and error alone by watching another bee. In fact, before now, this kind of behaviour has only been seen in one other species, humans. And it's posing the question, do bumblebees have the capacity for culture? Culture is a broad term that can be difficult to pin down. In this case, when scientists talk about culture, they are referring to a phenomenon by which behaviours and ideas learned socially through observation or teaching persist in a group or society. And animals have culture too. Researchers have observed behaviours that meet the definition for culture across the animal kingdom, from Japanese macaques to New Caledonian crows.
The behaviours that we recognise as cultural, they're things like tool use and their song, things that kind of resemble stuff that humans do. Whereas if you have something like a bee, an invertebrate, they are so completely different, both in terms of their biology and just their life history, their niche, that people by and large tend to assume that it was pretty much all innate, that this was all genetically pre-programmed. I guess our question was, is there potential that culture could have contributed?
Bumblebees are easy to train and prodigious social learners. Previous experiments have shown that they can be taught to pull strings and roll balls for rewards, and that other bumblebees can learn this behaviour by observing trained bees, even modifying the techniques of the bees they've been watching. But learning how to perform simple tasks like these is a long way from the complexities of human culture.
It's still thought that humans' ability to learn behaviours that are so complex that we can't possibly re-innovate them ourselves in isolation is what makes us unique and is responsible for our success as a species. So what we wanted to find out was whether a tiny bee was capable of the same thing.
Almost every part of our day-to-day lives is built on knowledge and technology which is too complex to work out in isolation. Instead, it takes many generations of iterative steps to develop. No one could have split the atom or travelled into space without the years of advances that came first. But could bumblebees really be capable of anything resembling this kind of cumulative culture?
We designed a puzzle box for the bees that they had to open in order to get a reward. So the reward, we put it on a yellow target that was covered by a transparent lid. In order to rotate this lid around so that they could get to the reward, they first had to move a blue tab by pushing it out of the way of a red tab, which then they could push against and rotate the lid around the central axis and get to their reward. The key element is that the first part of the behaviour, so pushing the blue tab, is unrewarded. They don't get any reward for doing that. They have to wait until after they've pushed the red tab as well.
While it might sound simple, this box proved impenetrable for untrained bumblebees. Given hours of exposure to the puzzles, they never stumbled upon the solution, despite the reward being tantalisingly close. In fact, even training the bees to complete this puzzle proved tricky.
We had to add a temporary reward beneath the blue tab so that they could get that and then go and get the one after the red tab. And then later on during the training, we took that away, which they really, really didn't like us for doing. But eventually, after sort of lots of coaxing, they did accept that they had to wait until they'd done both behaviours. But we couldn't even train them to do it without putting a reward there.
And yet, when they added a bee that had never seen the puzzle in with a trained bee, their social learning skills kicked in.
They were still able to learn from observing the demonstrator how to do the complete thing. This is really not trivial for bees. With this puzzle box, we were actually asking the bees not just to do something that they weren't getting a reward for. We were asking them to move away from the location of the reward first before they can get it. And yeah, it might seem pretty simple to humans, but for a bee, this is really, really difficult.
This isn't the first time an animal has solved a multi-part puzzle, but the crucial difference here is that for a bee, this puzzle box was too hard to work out on their own. They could only learn it through training with an interim reward or by copying another bee. And the researchers think this could have implications far beyond bumblebees.
It must raise the possibility that all sorts of other animals are capable of doing this. One of, I think, the reasons perhaps why we haven't been able to show that is because it is really difficult to design a behavioural paradigm that is so difficult that they can't learn it themselves, but they are still able to learn from others.
There are limitations to the bumblebee approach. These bumblebee colonies only survive for a single generation, and that's a problem if you want to study how behaviours might be passed on long term.
So it's likely with our bumblebees that any culture that maybe they were able to come up with during their time would be lost at that point, and they'd have to sort of start again from zero. There are other social insects and bees. So honeybee colonies persist consistently over many years. There are some tropical bumblebees that do the same, stingless bees. The long-term goal would be to see whether things such as the nest design, behaviours such as the leafcutter ants farming, even the honeybee dance language, is not purely innate. I think quite a lot of these behaviours, these supposedly innate behaviours, even if they are now, perhaps they weren't always. I mean, there are mechanisms through which selection can act on either general cognitive ability or behavioural biases. It's possible that learned traits might become increasingly innate over time. I would love to know whether this is what in fact has happened, whether maybe when we looked at these animals we didn't see culture because we were looking too late.